In Ecuador, security forces registered 40 terrorist acts in the last hours in the context of the increasing insecurity crisis the nation experiences. In Argentina, Congress continues to debate Milei's omnibus bill, a proposal that analysts say affects the economy and diminishes the political rights of citizens. In Palestine, the Israeli occupation army intensified its shelling and ground operations against Middle and Southern Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Ecuador, the first day of the internal armed conflict has resulted in 10 deaths, 3 wounded and at least 6 kidnapped, including 3 police officers who have been released. During the last report given at the emergency cabinet meeting convened by the mayor of Guayaquil, Aquiles Alvarez, 8 people were killed. However, a later police statement confirmed the execution of 2 of its agents. Guayaquil, located in the southwest of the country, has been the epicenter of violence that has been exponentially worsened after the escape of José Adolfo Macías, known as Fito, leader of the dangerous Choneros gang. Regional authorities confirmed more than 1,900 calls for help. And more than 40 acts of terrorism were reported by the security authorities in Ecuador. After the escape of the leader of the Choneros gang, the region has lived the most terrifying hours of its history. Moments after the decree of President Daniel Noboa, who declared a state of emergency, went into effect, there have been explosions of vehicles, armed attacks against commercial areas, looting, kidnappings of civilians and policemen, and several executions and murders. Some cases of police and military excesses have also been reported, concentrated into the impoverished areas of Guayaquil, taken over by tanks and hundreds of armed officers.
In an hour and a half, we have had a result of 8 people dead, 2 injured people, 2 vehicles burned, 2 motorcycles burned, a police officer injured by firearm, damage to the infrastructure of UPC Server 2, and we have 14 detainees in the different events that have occurred during the social commotions today in the afternoon in the city of Guayaquil.
This Tuesday, the government of Peru decided to declare a state of emergency on the border with Ecuador in the midst of the wave of violence that is shaking the neighboring country. The information was released by the Peruvian Prime Minister Alberto Otarola. This is a consequence of the violence registered in the Ecuadorian city of Guayaquil during the last hours. The Prime Minister assured that a contingent of police officers has been deployed to support the security forces currently stationed at the border with Ecuador to carry out a more intense control of the transit of people.
When a state of emergency is declared, the armed forces are ordered to come to support the national police, and of course, they will be in transit. We have a series of military establishments that are coordinating. The ministers of the ground are going to coordinate the operational part, but we want to assure you that the decision taken by President Boluarte to give tranquility and calm, especially to the population of Tumbes and Piura, there has been a little alarm by this event.
The issue of citizen security has also been at the center of the news in El Salvador, where the legislative body approved the 22nd extension of the emergency regime. As reported by the executive branch, this measure is the backbone of the security system implemented by the government of the President Nayib Bukele after lengthy debate where differences between the ruling and opposition branches remerged. The measures again obtained the support of the majority with 67 votes in favor and only 7 votes against it. Among them is that of Congresswoman Claudia Ortiz, who has again put the spotlight on the serious allegations of state violence that is protected under the state of emergency.
A few weeks ago, we proposed that this Legislative Assembly investigate from our faculties who released the crack. We have asked to investigate which members of the Salvadoran state authorities have given these benefits to evade justice in exchange for electoral benefits, or of any other nature has happened in the past. And that's why people know that we do not want to go back to the past. We cannot go back to the past. And it is important that we aspire to a country without gangs, without gun violence, where innocent people live free from the violence of these organized crime groups and also live free from the violence and terror of the state.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Argentina's Congress continues the debate on the omnibus bill, a proposal which, according to critics of Javier Milei's government, intends to affect the economy and diminish the political rights of the citizens. The Chamber of Deputies resumed the debate started on Tuesday, which counted with the presence of officials of the executive power who spoke about the chapters of emergency, state reform and justice. In this Wednesday's session, the deputies will debate on the bill of basis and starting points of the freedom of Argentines. It is expected that during the day, the Minister of Security and officials of the Ministry of Economy will make presentations on other respective managements in relation to the project promoted by the current President of Argentina. In Argentina, members of the United for Culture movement will hold demonstrations on Wednesday in several cities to express their rejection of Javier Milei's government measures. According to this space, in social networks, artists, workers, teachers, and students from different disciplines will participate in the national cacerolazo from 6 p.m. local time. The demonstrations will take place in Buenos Aires, Córdoba, Rosario, Santa Fe, Santiago, Estero, among many other territories. On December 20, the President issued a decree of necessity and urgency that provides for the dismantling of more than 300 regulations, including the laws of rent, supply, land, industrial, commercial, and commercial promotion. The new provisions are being widely rejected by the population and political and social organizations. Bolivia's government affirms that the progress of industrialization will guarantee productive sovereignty and at the same time it is a source of sustainable jobs. The President, Luis Arce, during his speech for the 53rd anniversary of the state metallurgical company Vinto, denounced that there are people interested in sabotaging industrialization in the country. Arce emphasized the importance of this process to improve the income and quality of life of the citizens. Additionally, he affirmed that this project will contribute to the independence as well as the consolidation of a good economy. In Russia, trade amounted to $1.5 billion last December, with an 80% increase in trade between Brazil and Russia. The Brazilian Statistics Institute reported that the country obtained tons of Russian oil derivatives for $1.14 billion, making Russia the largest fuel supplier, followed by the United States and the Netherlands. Brazilian exports to Russia contracted 17% to more than $93 million when shipping meat, coffee and peanuts. On the other hand, the South American country imported more than $304 million worth of fertilizers from Russia. In Haiti, the court ordered the arrest of more than 30 high-ranking officials for alleged government corruption. The arrest warrants accuse the officials of embezzlement of funds for equipment linked to the country's National Equipment Center. The center is in charge of using heavy machinery for tasks such as road construction or debris removal. The list includes former Presidents Michel Martelly and Jocelyn Privet, as well as former Prime Ministers Laurent Lamothe, Jean-Michel Labine, Evans Paul, and Jean Harrison. The authorities reported that no one has been arrested so far, but detailed that the investigations are still in progress. Cuba does not present the levels of COVID-19 cases that have been registered in the region. However, President Miguel Díaz-Canel has indicated that he will follow the recommendations of the World Health Organization. The head of state held a meeting this Tuesday with scientists and health experts, a regular exchange in which he is accompanied by members of the Political Bureau and Prime Minister Manuel Marrero. In view of the epidemiological situation reported for the Americas by the Pan American Health Organization, he took advantage of the meeting with the experts to ask for maximum attention in view of the increase of respiratory diseases. The Vice Minister of Health, Carilda Peña, explained the current situation of the island.
When we talk about genomics, it is to know the variants of the SARS-CoV-2 that is circulating, and so far we have not detected any variant in the country that has changed. It continues to be Omicron with the subvariant that are circulating in the region, and so far there are not variants that make us think that there is going to be any aggravation of the COVID-19 disease. Therefore, the population must continue to make use of individual protection measures.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Israeli occupation army intensified its shelling and ground operations against Middle and Southern Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, killing at least 147 people and injuring 243 others. According to the report issued this Wednesday by the Gaza Health Ministry, the number of Palestinians killed since October 2023 rose to 23,357, while the number of wounded reached 59,410. However, health authorities warned that the number of fatalities and those affected by the bombardments could continue to rise, since several people are still under the rubble and on the roads. Ambulance and civil defense teams are advancing in their efforts to find more victims and possible survivors, despite the persistent bombardments perpetrated by the occupying forces. The Israeli siege continues in the Gaza Strip, dropping bombs that do not discriminate between the Palestinian resistance and the civilian population. Our teleSUR correspondent, Huda Hegazi, brings us more details.
Me encuentro ahora mismo en la vivienda de la familia Nofal, una de las viviendas las cuales ayer Israel bombardeó.
I am now in the house of the Nofal family, one of the houses which yesterday Israel bombed in the Rafah governorate in the area of Tal al-Sultan in the east of the Gaza Strip. As we can see, this house has been heavily bombed by two failures of the Israeli occupation. In this house, there were at least 15 Gazans, and unfortunately, they all lost their lives. We are talking about 15 Gazans died yesterday due to this bomb. Most of them were children and women. As we can see the big destruction, these two missiles that have fallen to this house that was formed by 5 plants, and the last 2 floors have been completely destroyed. As we can see on the screen, everything is completely destroyed. Israel has left nothing to this fact. Everything is destroyed. But unfortunately, these massacres cannot be reported so that the world knows what atrocities and crimes Israel makes against the civil population, against the children. What is the fault of the children who died yesterday because of this bombing, finding themselves in their homes sleeping in a quietly way? We must highlight that this home is in the area of the teleSUR in the Rafah's governorate. This governorate, which Israel alleged was a safe area, especially the area of the teleSUR, which belongs to the area of Al-Mawasi, the Rafah's governorate. But unfortunately, as we can see, there is no safe area in the Gaza Strip, nor less in the Rafah's government, despite the fact that Israel had alleged that these areas were safe and are surrounded by people, and the Gazans have left different governments to come and take refuge here, these areas of the Rafah governorate. As we can see here on the ground, there are remains of missiles. There are remnants, shrapnels from missiles of the Israeli occupation army. This is what falls to the children, to the civil people who live in this neighborhood. This is the remains of missiles of the army of the occupation of Israel, so that everyone can witness that this is what Israel throws at the civil population. To these innocent civilians who live in their homes without committing any crime, just because of the fact of living here in the Gaza Strip. Now we will talk to one of the families who live in this neighborhood. I would like you to tell us what happened last night and who live in this house.
Last night, some displaced people arrived from Khan Yunis, from Gaza, and from Jabalia, because this is supposed to be a safe area. Everything was fine. Suddenly, at night, at around 11 o'clock, the bombing started. We started to see people shot by the explosion. They were flying everywhere. 12 martyrs fell because of the bombing, and the wounded. That's the only thing we saw. That happened suddenly. We didn't notice anything else, as you can see. We were getting ready to sleep. That is, we were getting ready to sleep, and not even 10 minutes passed while we were looking for a place to sleep. And the attack happened. We were surprised. We didn't know anything. My house was full, on the second floor. There were 30 people from Khan Yunis. From my direct family, there were 10 people. My apartment was 2 rooms and a bathroom. My brother was the same. They are members of the same family, cousins who are displaced from Gaza, and the same thing happened to them that made them move. They escaped death, and they found it here. This is what I know of what happened. I have no knowledge of anything else. There was no one from the resistance here. This is a quiet house. We hid here and asked for God's grace. The displaced people who came also the same. They thought they were safe. They had no relation with anything that is called resistance. They were workers, other officials of the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah. That is, they had nothing to do with the Hamas. That's all that happened. In this house, there was no one related to anything dangerous.
And were there any children? How many people were there? As we can see, the family is in complete shock. They did not expect this bombing because, as Israel had claimed, that this was a safe area, and even their relative had come from Khan Yunis governorate to evacuate in Rafah governorate. They were in the house and believed that it was a safe area. But unfortunately, as we know, Israel lies in all the statements it issues, and there is no safe area in the Gaza Strip. We have been assured that there was no one belonging to the Palestinian resistance. They were all innocent civilians, and Israel proceeded to bomb them directly. And this shows the criminality, the brutality of the army of the Israeli occupation to kill innocent civilians who have nothing to blame. And this must be useful for the world to condemn and punish the actions that Israel is committing here in the Gaza Strip.
On Wednesday, the Israeli government assassinated another Palestinian journalist. In the midst of the incessant bombing against the Palestinian civil population, Heba al-Abdallah died with her little daughter, Yudi. The attack, described by the Palestinian human rights organizations as express and premeditated, occurred in Khan Yunis, south of Gaza. The magnitude, accuracy, and degree of destruction of the journalist's home confirmed the accusations. The Palestinian Information Center, after regretting the killing of the reporter and her daughter, ratified that the new crime is part of the Zionist attempt to silence the truth about the war crimes in the Gaza Strip. With Heba's death, the number of journalists killed in 97 days of the genocidal operation rises to 111. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.